Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Saratoga Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 27th of August, 2022. It's Travers Day from Saratoga, and I'm going to look at all the stakes races, including the Travers. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Let's look at the stakes action, races 4, 5, 8, through 11. The fourth race, it's the Ballston Spa Stakes. It's a Grade 2 event going for a purse of $400,000. Race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have 5 horses heading to the Melon Turf Course. The distance of ground here of 1,700 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/16 on the Saratoga Melon Turf Course. 1,700 meters, 1 mile 1/16. The portable rails are down, so they'll be running against the hedge. And I show the diagram, just gives me a second to look down at my notes, so just bear with me. Especially during these big days, I need that extra second. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the 4-horse Fluffy Socks. I'm going to go 4-2-5-3 in the superfecta. 4-2-5-3 super. Top selection of 4-horse Fluffy Socks. This 4-year-old mare by Slumber here. Chad Brown trains this one. Iritis Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 23rd of July at Monmouth, a mile and 1/8 in the Grade 3 Matchmaker Stakes, and the horse finished second by a half length. He sat back early. He had a great turn of foot, but Lamista just had that better turn of foot coming from a little bit of a close position. If the race was a mile 3/16, probably would have won, but she closed up well. It's definitely second best. Coming here to Saratoga, I'd like to see this horse be a little bit more involved early on, but I think she could really run a good race. She's definitely been on the up and up. 2 back at Monmouth, mile 16th on the 18th of June in the Eatontown Stakes, the Grade 3 Eatontown. She finished 4th by 4 lengths, and again, she sat back early, a little bit wide, but was really closing up well late. Not the world's worst race for her. And then the Modesty at Churchill, mile 8th on the 6th of May. She finished second by a half length behind Bleecker Street, the stablemate. Again, just coming from a little bit too far behind. Bleecker Street had the dream position all the way down that weird turf course. The horse hasn't won since the Sands Point. That came last October at Belmont, going a mile and 1/8 on the inner turf course, winning by a neck. She took good advantage from the wide post draw in the long stretch there to get there in the nick of time. I thought it was a good race for her there. Coming here today, she should get a good trip, good pace. The speed's really holding up on this inner turf course. At 7-2, let's use her. I think the 2-horse Lamista, the stablemate, it wouldn't surprise me if she gets a good trip on the front end. She won the Matchmaker from a tracking position very nicely, and then had a decent third place finish in the Eatontown. If she would have broke better, she would have probably made the race a little bit more interesting. She's only won once on this side of the pond, but she's always run these good races. At 3-1, I'll use her in this pick 4 that begins with this race, and also the early pick 4. But to recount my selection for the 4th from Saratoga, it's the Grade 2 Ballston Spa Stakes. Let's take the 4-horse Fluffy Socks. Give kudos to the 2-horse Lamista. 4-2-5-3 super. 4-2 in your multi-race. The 5th race from the Spa, it is the Forego Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse $600,000. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 7 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground here of 1,400 meters, or 7 furlongs on the Saratoga main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here in the Forego. My top selection, let's go take the number 5 horse here, Cody's Wish. I'm going to go 5-3-6-4 in the superfecta. I know I'm not taking Jackie's Warrior on top. We'll get to that in a second, but my top selection is 5 horse Cody's Wish. 4-year-old colt by Curlin here. Belmont trains one for Godolphin. Junior Alvarado gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Hanshin Cup at Churchill, 1 mile on the 4th of July, and the horse went by a neck that day. He sat back early off of a quick pace, and he took good advantage with the long stretch. He got to the front end, and he held on to a very nice victory. Coming here to 7 furlongs, where I see a lot of pace in this one. I think somebody's going to go with Jackie's Warrior today to tire him out, and I think it's going to suit up for a horse come from a tracking position like this one. 2 back, we're in the 7th of May at Belmont on the slop, 1 mile in the Westchester. He was much the best, winning by 5 lengths, a little bit wide, but probably could have won by more. On a sloppy day, he was zooming home. And then before then, the Challenger at Tampa, mile 16th and 12th of March. He finished second by a neck that day. He didn't break that well, which probably cost him. He wasn't a little bit closer than he normally was. But coming here today to a 1-turn 7 furlongs where he probably doesn't need the lead. Like I said, I think he's going to track here, and I think Jackie's Warrior might get tired out. I'm going to use this horse here. Jackie's Warrior can win, but occasionally throwing these clunkers, which are head scratchers, like he did in the Woody Stevens last year, and in the Brewers Cup he did get beat. But this season nobody's really challenged this horse. Ran the Vanderbilt Handicap a few weeks ago where the horse won by 2, never getting challenged. Ran in the True North where he nearly broke the track record, winning by 5, not getting challenged. And then in the Churchill Downs Stakes, never really getting challenged there, where he just got everything his own way. The only race he was challenged in was that it was in the Count Fleet sprint handicap at Oaklawn, where he won by 3/4 length, but he wasn't, he just wasn't 100% cranked that day. But I think he's going to get challenged on the front end today. It wouldn't surprise me if, Baby Yoda challenges him, or even Pipeline, and I think it's going to it's going to end up towards a race where it's going to come for a horse that's come from mid-pack, like Cody's Wish. But I will use Jackie's Warrior on the pick 4, but, I have questions with him today. But to recount my selection for the 5th from Saratoga, it's the grade 1 Forego. Let's take the 5-horse Cody's Wish. Give kudos to the 3-horse Jackie's Warrior, 5-3-6-4 Super, 5-3 in your multi-race. So we're going to head over to race number 8 now from Saratoga, which is the Alan Jerkins Memorial. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $500,000, race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 9 horses here in the formerly race known as the King's Bishop, going 1,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 7 furlongs on the main track. 1,400 meters, 7 furlongs here in the Alan Jerkins. My top selection here, I'm going to go take the number 6 horse. Pick 4 begins with this race, so we'll play a ticket. Top selection, 6-horse Jack Christopher. Let's go 6-4-9-5 in the superfecta. 6-4-9-5 super. Top selection, 6-horse Jack Christopher. I'm going to single him in the pick 4. 3-year-old colt by Munnings. Chad Brown trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came on the 23rd July at Monmouth. A mile and 1/8 in the Haskell. First started around 2 turns. He finished 3rd by 2 lengths. He stalked. He had the lead at the top of the lane, but then just didn't stay the final 2. Back to 1 turn, 7 furlongs, where he doesn't need the lead, where he could slow it down. I think he's in a better spot to win. 2 back around the Woody Stevens at Belmont, 7 furlongs, 11th of June. Winning by 10 lengths there. He put on a show that day, second off the bench. He sat back early, slowly moved his way up, and didn't even get the whip in the lane. Took off clear. One of the most exciting races of the Belmont Stakes meeting at Belmont. And then before that, Pat Day Mile at Churchill, 1 mile, 7th of May. First off the long refreshing. There was a lot of hype as him for a 2-year-old, but then we couldn't see it in the Breeze Cup Juvenile. But he showed some potential, really good hype there on Derby Day at Churchill in the Pat Day Mile, winning by 3 3/4 lengths from a tracking position. He didn't break so well, but he still took off clear late. A very good race. And then last year, Champagne, winning by 2 3/4 lengths. He sat back early. When he got the lead, he took off clear. He's done everything right in the short offering, other than the 2-turn race. Kind of back to a 1-turn, 7 furlongs, training well since the last run. I'll give him a shot here. Like I said, a single in the multis. But to recount my selection for the 8th from Saratoga, it's the grade 1 $500,000 Alan Jerkins Stakes. I'm going to go with the 6-horse Jack Christopher, 6-4-9-5 super. Let's single the 6 to begin off this pick 4. The 9th race from Saratoga now, it is the Personal Ensign Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse $600,000. Race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have 5 horses taking a stroll around the Saratoga main track, which is 1,800 meters in circumference, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 1/8 on the Saratoga main track. 1,800 meters, 1 mile 1/8 here in the Personal Ensign. Wasn't this race years ago called like the John Morris Handicap? Years and years ago, probably before my time. But I was watching a replay, and I could have swore this was the race. Gotta go look that up after it. But my top selection here in the Personal Ensign, I'm going to take the 3-horse Clairiere. I'm going to go 3-5-1-2 in the superfecta. 3-5-1-2 super. Top selection of 3-horse Clairiere. This 4-year-old flip by Curlin. Steve Asmussen trains. Joel Rosario gets them out. The horse's most recent outing came the 24th of July at Saratoga. A mile 1/8 in the grade 2 Chuvy, and the horseman by 1.5 lengths. Only had 3 other rivals that day, but facing older horses again. This horse sat back early and had a bit of a bumping action around the far turn, but when she settled well after that, she got the job done after all said and done. A very good race for her there after all that, trouble. Coming here, I think you're going to see a lot of pace in this one today, and I think that they finally found Latruska's shortcomings. When she gets challenged on the front end, when she gets challenged, she just keeps going. She gets faster, and I think it wouldn't surprise me if somebody challenges her again. And I think Clairiere is going to get a good trip from mid-pack to win here today. 2 back, the horse ran the Odgen Phipps at Belmont, a mile 16th, 11th June. And the horse went by head that day, and she got good advantage of that pace, stupidly fast pace on the front end. When the pace meltdown happened, she was there with mouth at. She fought a good race with mouth at to the finish, and she had the head bob. A very good race for her after all said and done. And then the Apple Blossom Handicap at Oaklawn, a mile 16, 23rd of April. She finished second by 1/4 length. She sat back early. A little bit of a trouble trip, but she was gaining to Latruska. If she would have gotten to the mile and 1/8, she would have made the race a little bit interesting, I thought. And then before that, Ops Lady at the Fairgrounds, 16th, mile 16th, 16th March. Her seasonal reappearance, she won by 6.5 lengths, coming from mid-pack. It was a very easy stroll in the park for her there, and I thought her Brews Cup Distaff race, she finished 4th by 3/4 length. She was stupidly wide, but she was gaining off of that pace meltdown thanks to Atrocious. Coming here to Saratoga, where she's run pretty well in the past. She's training well. At 6-5, I'll use her. It wouldn't surprise me if the 5-horse Malathaat gets a good trip and wins. I love her Shuvy place a few weeks ago, and I like the gaining ground in the Ogden Phipps, and the double dog dare over the mile 16th. Probably not her preferred trip, but she still ran decently there. Her 2-year-old form wasn't bad. Her 3-year-old and 2-year-old form wasn't bad at all. She loves the mile in the 8th. 5-2. Let's use her in this pick 4. But to recap my selection for the 9th from Saratoga, it's the grade 1 personal Ensign. Let's take the 3-horse Clairiere, give kudos to the 5-horse Malathaat, 3-5-1-2 Super, 3-5 in your multi-race. Now the 10th race from Saratoga. It is the Sword Dancer Invitational. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse $750,000. Races for 4-year-olds and upwards here. We have a field of 10 horses going to the inner turf course, the distance of ground of 2,400 meters, or the distance of ground of 1.5 miles on the Saratoga inner turf course. 2,400 meters, 1.5 miles. The portable rails are up at 9 feet. So just keep that in mind. My top selection here, I'm going to go take the number 8 horse, Soldier Rising. Let's go 8-6-7-1 in the superfecta. 8-6-7-1 super. Top selection 8 horse, Soldier Rising. This 4-year-old gelding by Frankel here. Christophe Clement trains. Jose Ortiz gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 31st July at Saratoga, mile 3, 16th, an optional 80 claimer, and the horse went by head that day and sat towards the back pack early on. He slowly moved his way up, and he got the job done. A very good confidence builder race. Come to 1.5 miles, where he's going to see a good pace, I think, in front of him. The speed's not been holding up so much on the turf courses there at Saratoga this meeting, but I think he can get a good trip, and I think he can win, even with a step up in class. 2 back in the Grand Coutier at Belmont, 1.5 miles wide in her turf course, 8th of July. He finished second by a neck. It was a small group of horses, but he sat back early. He had to lead. Channelmaker got to him, the old man. But this horse didn't go down without a fight. I thought he ran his heart out there. And then the 3rd of June at Belmont, yielding Widener turf course. Mile 3/8 and op 6-2, winning by 1.5 lengths. He stalked. He got the lead. He took off clear. His form in 2021, he started the season off in France, running in listed races at Chantilly and then in Paris at Longchamp. Came to run last year's Saratoga Derby, where he placed behind State of Rest, where he really, if he would have broke better, would have made the race very, very interestingly, even with that small margin. Came back to run a second place finish behind Yabir in the Jack Club Derby over the 1.5 miles at Belmont. Yabir went on to win next start out in the Brews Cup Turf, and then ran a okay 5th in the Hill Prince, where I thought he was just a little bit too far out of it from a stupidly wide post draw, and then ran a very good 3rd place finish against older horses in the Red Smith at Aqueduct. Nothing bad about that run at all. If he would have saved some more ground, he probably would have won. But coming here today, I think he's up to scratch. 15-1, let's use him. I think you also have to use the 6-horse here, Gufo. He won this race last year. He had to be used a lot, but he got the job done. Came back to run a disappointing 3rd in last year's Joe Hirsch and 10th in the Brews Cup Turf. I thought after this race last year, he was a very tired horse for the last 2 starts of the season. Came back to win the Pan American at Goldstream earlier this season, and then a decent 2nd place finish in the Man of War. But then they ran him in the 1.25 mile Manhattan. He's not a 1.25 mile horse. He's a 1.5 mile horse. He's going to like it today, and I think he should get a good trip. I'm going to use him here at 9-2, and also the 7-horse Trivavan. If a horse walks in the front end, it's probably going to be him, and it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if he wins, like he did in the Belmont Manhattan, where he won by 3.5 lengths. He walked on the front end and got the job done easily. They tried walking him in the UN, where he, just kind of hit the wall late. But 5-1. Let's use him in the late pick 4. With that all stakes pick 4. But to recap my selection for the 10th from Saratoga, it's the grade 1 $750,000 Sword Dancer. As a top selection, let's take the 8-horse Soldier Rising. Give kudos to the 6-horse Gufo and the 7-horse Trivavan. 8-6-7-1 Super. 8-6-7 in your multi-race. The featured 11th race from Saratoga, the big race of the summer from the spa. It is the grade 1 Travers Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for a purse of $1.25 million. Race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of 8 horses going the classic distance of ground of 2,000 meters, or the distance of ground here of 1.25 miles on the Saratoga main track. 2,000 meters, 1.25 miles here in the Travers. My top selection, I'm going to go take the number 5 horse Atrocious as a top selection. I'm going to go 5861 in the superfecta. 5861 super. Top selection of 5 horse Atrocious. This 3-year-old colt by Arrogate here. Judd Monone, Chad Brown trains. Atrocious Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the Curlin at Saratoga, mile 8th on the 29th of July. And the horse won by 4 3/4 lengths. He had a stupidly wide post draw, but he got over well, somewhat well. He was 3 wide around the first turn, but he settled well down the backstretch, a little bit wide on the second turn. But when he got the turn of foot, he took off clear, paced home easily, come to a mile and a quarter, which he's bred for through and through. I think he can make the race very interesting. 2 back in the main special at Belmont, 1 mile 10th of June. He won by 3/4 length, and again, he sat back early, he slowly moved his way up, and he got the job done. Finally routing, that's what he wanted to do. His debut at Keeneland in the fall, in the spring, going 6 furlongs, was over 2 short of his trip in a maiden special weight for 100,000. Finished second by 1/4 lengths. He sat back early, a little bit wide, but he just missed, but he ran his heart out there. But he's not a 6 furlong horse. He wants to go a rounding trip like a mile and 1/8, a mile and a quarter middle distance is what he really wants. He's going to get it today. He's training a lot better going into this race than I thought going into the Curlin Stakes. I'm going to take him here facing the big boys. It wouldn't surprise me if the stablemate, the 8-horse Xandon, wins also. 3-year-old colt by Upstart. Flavian Pratt gets on this one for Chad Brown. In the Jim Dandy, he was gaining ground, but he just maybe just needed the race there. I thought he ran a decent third in the Kentucky Derby, and then the Bluegrass was very nicely run. He's another horse, a mile and a quarter through and through. Use him here. And the 6-horse Epicenter, he should have won the Derby. He probably ran the best race of anybody that day, but he just got caught by Rich Strike, who freaked that day. But he stalked. He had lead, got caught late. What can you do? He ran his heart out there. In the Preakness, they let early voting walk on the front end, which, and this horse sat way too back, too far out of it early. Again, he didn't have the best beginnings either, but, he should have been a little bit more involved in the Preakness. And then last time out in the Jim Dandy, he really ran terrifically, coming from nowhere to win. Won over the mile 3/16 in the Louisiana Derby. He's definitely one of the best buyers here. 7-5. I'll definitely use him on the ticket. Talking about the other horses here, I have Cyber Knight for 4th. I loved his Haskell victory coming up the rail. He's going to probably get a bit of a trouble trip here today from the inside of Saratoga, but it wouldn't surprise me if he wins, but I just don't think it's going to be. I think he's facing a little bit too tough competition than he was in the Haskell. Rich Strike, maybe a superfecta kind of horse, but I just, I can't use him here. The 3-horse Ain't Life Grand, way up the class ladder here today, just not a use for me. Gilded Age, again, maybe a superfecta horse, but he'll really have to freak to win. We already talked about Epicenter. The 7-horse early voting, I just don't think he's a mile 16th at the most. I just don't think a mile and a quarter is going to be to his liking at this particular period. I don't like the way he was hitting the wall last time out in the Jim Dandy. I think the only reason he won the Preakness was because he got everything on his own way in the front end. I did back him in the Preakness and in the Wood and the Withers. I'm just not going to take him here today. I think the other 3 I have on the ticket are more likely winners. But to recap my selection for the 11th from Saratoga, it's the Travers Stakes, the Grade 1 $1.25 million Travers. Let's take the 5-horse Atrocious as top selection. Give kudos to the 8-horse Xandon and the 6-horse Epicenter. 5861 Super, 586 in your multi-race. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.